Good morning. You listen to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. This morning, my guest is Joe Lundgren with Joe Lundgren Consulting. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
We're not together. We're actually a long way apart. You're in Bologna, Italy, at the annual Cersaie show. This is their 40th anniversary show, and you agreed to be our correspondent here with Floor Focus. How's the weather in Bologna?
Actually, very nice. I would say it's not too hot, but, when you're in a suit and a long sleeve shirt, you do manage to build up a little bit of a sweat. And of course, the Italians don't like air conditioning like we do. So the halls are kind of warm, but it's beautiful outside. And I got a nice apartment close, so it's walking distance.
Well, most everybody knows that the business is soft. I'm talking about the global business. Europe is the biggest market for that show, and then the U.S. comes in right after that. And as we have run on Floor Daily, demand for ceramic is down about 6 or 7%. How's the crowd?
From what I've seen, the crowd is very good. And there's some booths that I went to actually enter into and then decided, no, I think I'll pass because they were really too crowded to get in. So what I've heard has been from the suppliers, even and the vendors who have booths, is that the crowd's been very strong. And the key point there is, Kemp, is there's a lot of Americans here, and I deal with a lot of agents who represent factories, foreign factories, and a lot of the agents come over when a lot of their customers are here. And across the board, the agents are here, and every one of them are telling me they are having the most Americans that they've ever seen come over to the show. So, and they're buying, which is good news.
That is good news. I mentioned earlier that demand for ceramic tile in the U.S. is down, but if you look at the other categories in flooring, actually ceramic is holding its own, maybe taking a little bit of market share. So I'm not surprised to hear this. Let me ask you one question about a specific company. I go to the show every other year. This year we sent Jennifer Bardona to the show. She's there as our editor. Last year, Marazzi did not show at the show. Are they there this year?
No, they did the same thing along with Emil, which is obviously under the Dow Tile umbrella, the Mohawk umbrella. But they had their off-site visits also.
Interesting. As I mentioned, this is the 40th anniversary of the show. Are there any special events related to that?
You see the 40th path all through the show. They market it very well. And I believe that they have had some different events surrounding that. I haven't attended any of those. Typically, the association that puts on the show does a fantastic job with those things. So I think they have reason to celebrate too, because I think everybody showing up is a positive sign, where obviously we've had our issues over the past few years with the war and the pandemic. So it's great crowd to be seeing out here.
Another question. Last year, a big part of the news, that kind of the gloom around the show, was the fact that natural gas was costing the factories in Europe 10x what it normally costs. Has that settled down?
Oh, yes. It's come down considerably. And, in some countries, and particularly in Italy, the government was supplementing some of these companies. Even though they passed on those increases, there was the supplement from the government that helped them, but also just the fact that the overall price increase that they had given, now we see them lightening up on those things. So the gas has come down considerably since the peak back in, I'd say, August of 2022, when I think gas was around $70 a BTU in Europe. And to give you an idea, it was $8 in America about the same time in the U.S. So it's come down considerably. Much better news for us out here, obviously, in the tile world.
One more quick question. Armando Caffiera is the guy who runs the show. I don't know if you've run into him or not. He usually wears his emotions where you can kind of see what's going on. Is he smiling?
Yes. That's a good way to say it. Yes, he is smiling, so, and I actually got to shake his hand and say hello. It was good news. I put out on my ABI report, just to get back to your gas question, to give you an idea, back at that peak where it was $70 back in August of 2022. In August of 2023, natural gas is 1071 BTU in Europe, and it's 258 in the U.S. I mean, the U.S. is obviously the lowest cost, but you can see that's come down considerably. Between that and the body cost that now companies have incurred increases because that was coming from the Ukraine, they've had to find alternative sources. They still have that increase, but the natural gas has come down significantly to levels of June 2021, the same level.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, it's the end of the third day over there. Obviously, you're 6 hours ahead of me. So I know you've probably gone through many of the 22 different halls that are there. Give us a quick read. Is there anything that's standing out from a product perspective that's new and unique?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things about the industry is if there's not something new, we bring back something that was a trend in the past. but we do it better. Two of the things that are really prevalent at the show is travertine in both crosscut and vein cut. But the graphic that we have today versus the graphic 5 years ago is completely different. It's very intricate, and I have to say, very difficult for the stone people of the world to tell the difference between tile and the true travertine. And the other thing is metal. While metal's with a soft metal look in there, we've seen that come back. Some of the Italians do very strong metal. That may be too aggressive for the U.S., but there is a lot of lighter toned metal looks out there that are very, very nice. And of course, all in large formats that they're showing here, but the manufacturers focused on our market are making our sizes. And that's primarily, we're the only country that uses a lot of the 12 by 24, 30 by 60 as they refer to it here. That's not a popular size around the rest of the world. So that's very popular. And then from the technical standpoint, there was a couple companies like ABK came out with what they call P-Tech, and it's a very detailed inkjet that they've developed with the supplier of the equipment that has really given a lot of detail to the product. And then also Fondavali, which is a company from Italcir, they've developed a system to be able to inkjet over the radius of a porcelain slab, where we only could inkjet the top and we would have to fabricate the edge. They've literally come out with the ability to decorate the edge. So if you have a countertop and you have the full slab on there in porcelain, you do not have to fabricate it any longer. It just has to be that specific size that they make it in, which I'm sure other companies will come out with, but it was definitely something different at the show that we had not seen before and no one else has at the show.
Okay, we're about to run out of time. Just one more quick question. One of the latest news is around moving from natural gas-fired operations to hydrogen-fired operations. Is anybody ramping up over there with that type of technology?
There's been some talk of that in the industry, and from my understanding is the technology is not available to where it would be 100% hydrogen. It's a certain percentage. Some of them were using just 10%, and they're going to expand it to 50%. One of the things that comes along with that is it takes a lot of electricity to build that hydrogen. So you're kind of moving from one energy source to the other, but it's a better option for the factories than the natural gas in some areas. So there's definitely a lot of talk of that. I think we'll see a lot more of that in the coming years.
People who go to that show know that Bologna is quite the foodie place. Are you having some good meals while you're there?
I'm putting on a few pounds, so it's good. I'm getting my steps in at the show because my wife's going to be checking with my weight when I get back, I'm sure.
All right, sounds good, Joe. Thanks for talking to our listeners and giving us a read on the Cersaie show. Again, been talking to Joe Lundgren with Joe Lundgren Consulting about the 40th anniversary Cersaie show in Bologna, Italy, and you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.